What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of TUF 31, episode 1, the episode that obviously kicked off the show. I thought it was a really good episode. Obviously, we had a quick finish, a fight that didn't even last 10 seconds. We got to see ex-UFC fighter Roosevelt Roberts go in there and handle business against a fighter, and Nate Jennerman, who is very young and hungry, the former LFA competitor, a fighter that has had 8 fights in LFA and had a fight over in PFL as well, a victory over in PFL. Before we jump into that fight, I'll say I really just like the atmosphere of the show. I love the way things played out as far as Conor McGregor getting all the new faces in the bantamweight and lightweight divisions. I like the fact that Chandler's going with the veterans. I think that that's just the way I would have wanted to see things go. I don't know why. I just feel like the personalities match better that way. And you have to realize this was just the first episode, so there was a lot of material that they needed to kind of go over just to give you the basis of the show. But we know over time, the show will settle in and we'll start to really get to know these fighters more on a personal note. We'll really get to see how these guys are in the house. I think that there's some interesting personalities. We saw Roosevelt Roberts. I believe he was at Kurt Hollabaugh, a teammate of his there. They were talking about the fact that they didn't really, or at least Roosevelt was saying he didn't really know how his personality would match up if he was coached by Conor McGregor, so he felt good being with Michael Chandler. Kurt Hollabaugh, he cut it right to the chase. He said that he knows that his personality wouldn't match with Conor McGregor. I thought that was funny. Kurt Hollabaugh, just a hard-nosed, a diligent type of dude. He's strictly business, and I'm excited to talk more about him moving forward on the show. But Roosevelt Roberts, I think that it was a match made perfectly for him being picked by Chandler, or that group being picked by Chandler. If you're familiar with Roosevelt Roberts, he's a fighter that's bounced back and forth from Cali to South Florida. I believe he has the 954 tattoo on him and all that, mo money and all that. It's funny, I grew up in the 954. He reminds me of a lot of my old classmates. And, Roosevelt Roberts has said on the show that he wants to make that move back to South Florida. I believe that his girl and his kids are in South Florida. It's funny because when I met him, I talked about that in another video as we did the intros, but I met Roosevelt Roberts when he was going into the weigh-ins in one of his UFC fights, where he was actually going to take on, he was in that fight that I met him. He was taking on Thomas Gifford, went in there and got the job done. And I believe he was with his baby mama. I'm pretty sure, because at the time I think he had a little baby with him, and she was walking with him on the side of the arena. Nobody was there as after everything cleaned out. And he was a cool dude. He took the picture with me. And same type of personality as what you see on the show. Just, not a lot of talking, just, straight to business. He likes to scrap. And, on episode 1, he talked about the fact that, he kind of lost his mental. He was just going in there to collect some paychecks as he was in the UFC, kind of taking it for granted. And you saw that in his performances, right? Losses to Vince Pichel, Jim Miller got submitted early in the first round, knocked out by Kevin Kroom. I say knocked out again, but he was submitted by Kevin Kroom, but he was clipped with a big shot. He was on rubber legs, and then Kroom just snuck in the standing guillotine, but he was really out on his feet. And then he was really put out by Ignacio Baja-Mendez. So just kind of cruising through things, and you can't just cruise through things in the UFC. And we saw that. And I think that his mental is a lot sharper right now. I think that whole experience of being in the UFC and being cut, I really believe that it carried some serious weight as far as for his career. Bounced back with 2 victories now. Just had a victory over Darren Smith Jr. and Alexandre de Almeida. That was over at Eagle FC, Khabib's promotion. And I really think that he's going to be a threat on this show. I mean, the size that he possesses, the length. You see me in the picture with him there. I mean, says he's 6'2", but I think that he's really close to being 6'3", because I'm 5'11 and a half. I used to put 6 foot on my Tinder profile, as I once said. But I really believe that he is a fighter that is on the verge of being 6'3". He's very rangy. And he's not just a fighter that's lanky and frail. This is a fighter that has some real pop on his shots. He possesses power. I love the fact that he uses his length. He throws those straight shots down the middle. And as we saw, he used it to perfection against Nate Jennerman, getting that first round knockout within 9 seconds. And Nate Jennerman, a 30-year-old fighter that's really known for pushing the pace with his grappling and just being a tough dude and really wanted to get this fight down to the mat, and he wanted this fight to play out longer, was not able to do so. A fighter that's 5-3 over in LFA. And, we'll talk about Jennerman here real quick. You guys know how the show goes. Nate Jennerman needs to stay diligent, needs to continue to train and stay ready, because you never know when an opportunity pops up on these types of shows. If some other fighter gets injured, is not able to continue, he may be able to step in. The UFC may have an opportunity for him on the Ultimate Fighter finale. So you have to take that into consideration. But I really felt for Jennerman, as you saw how brokenhearted he was, leaving his family, getting this big opportunity, a fighter that's 30 years old and has put in a lot of work. Has had 21 pro fights. He's probably been dying for this opportunity to fight under the UFC banner, and to get starched like that. That had to just be absolutely devastating. So you got to feel for him, but he will get another opportunity. A fighter that has trained under Rufus Sport for some time. So that's the recap of episode 1. Moving forward, we'll polish these up a lot more, I promise you guys. But we just did an extensive video breaking down, or kind of giving you guys light in all these fighters. And obviously, we touched upon the Roosevelt Roberts victory, being that we already saw episode 1 there. So, I was kind of reiterating what we saw from Roosevelt Roberts and Nate Jennerman there. But moving forward, I will polish these videos up more so, and I promise you they will be even more entertaining. But I hope that you guys like the format here, just keeping in touch with you guys as we move through the show. I'm a big fan of the show, as I said, and I'm going to be watching every episode. So hopefully you guys are too, and you guys are commenting with me here, and we can kind of watch this together, if you guys will. On episode 2, we're going to have Conor McGregor's number 2 ranked bantamweight, Trevor Wells, 27 years old. If you guys want to learn more about him, again, you guys can check out that other video. I kind of talked about what he brings to the table. He's going to be taking on Michael Chandler's number 3 ranked bantamweight in Timur Valiev. Timur Valiev is a fighter that I said, again, if you check that video out, I picked Timur Valiev to win the bantamweight bracket. He's my favorite to win that division. So we'll see how that fight goes. A big fight for him right off the rip. That's a big fight for a guy like Trevor Wells to take at the age of 27 years old, trying to make a name in the game for himself. Timur Valiev has had the big fights. He has a good amount of experience. He can grapple. He pushes a crazy pace. Obviously, I am picking Timur Valiev to use the grappling, the cardio, and the pace to go out there and get the job done against Trevor Wells. So we'll see. I mean, Trevor Wells has some good takedown defense. We'll see if he could potentially keep the fight standing. He has some good striking in the pocket. We'll see. Maybe he could land a big shot there and get the job done. But, we will be recapping that episode after it takes place next Tuesday night. All right, guys, signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.